First question comes from another Matt. What happens if the Saints draft a left tackle at 14 and Penning actually develops in the meantime? Does Penning move to right tackle?
All right, so here's something interesting about this. If the Saints don't get Olu Fashanu or Joe Alt, a lot of these other guys are right tackles and have been right tackles in their career, including J.C. Latham. I don't think it's out of the question that this year, if they go that route, that they just stick the, it also depends on Ryan Ramczyk. But if Ryan Ramczyk's not available, the other guy could play right tackle this year as he enters the NFL. Trevor Penning could be lining up at left tackle in practice and get that chance to earn that job. And then, down the road, maybe whoever they draft at right tackle eventually moves to left tackle. So it's not out of the question that if Trevor Penning earns his way into the lineup, he earns his way at left tackle. But if he is just tossed aside, look, you're a sixth guy, I don't know. What do you think, left guard or right tackle? Where would they move him to be like, good luck trying to carve out a second life at another position?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, he's a really big person to put at guard. I don't know that his body type. Like, I'm not saying he can't, and I'm not saying it's out of the cards. But I think ideally you have your 6'7" player on the outside. That's a big body to have in the middle of the offensive line. I mean, that's a massive.
Especially if he doesn't move smoothly.
Yeah, and if you're trying to hit a crossing route and you need to get it over a 6'7" guy, like that's a big guy to throw the ball around. Like, so I think ideally you have him on the outside, and then I think it would just come down to, like, hopefully one of the two can go from playing left-handed, so to speak, to right-handed. And I don't think that you have a preference on that. It's just whoever can do it. There's kind of this idea that left tackle is more premium than right.
Yeah.
I think that's changed over time. What's interesting, though, is that right tackles are typically a little bit heavier than left tackles. Like, and I don't know what the reasoning for that is, and that might be changing a little bit, but the league average is about 10 pounds heavier on the right side than the left side, and that kind of plays into, like, prototyping those positions. So that's one thing there too. But I think that ideally your tackles stay at tackles. Like, your first round pick is a tackle. Hopefully he's able to play right tackle, and you have your two guys there, and then you replace your interior guy. However, but I think however it goes is kind of, if Penning's better at playing left guard than right tackle. I mean, we've seen that with Andrews Pete already. It's not always necessarily that someone on the left side can go to the right, and it's not necessary that everyone from tackle can go to guard. Those are hard transitions to make. So whatever way you can configure those guys and get them on the field, I think that's the best configuration.
Let me ask you this, though, about that stigma that left tackle is the premier position. If Ryan Ramczyk is not playing this year, it's a big if. That's a big factor in this. If Ryan Ramczyk is playing, then the next best guy plays left tackle. If Ryan Ramczyk's not playing and you draft Fuaga or Latham or Mims or Guyton or the BYU kid, Suamataya, all five of those guys played right tackle in college. Do you just say, hey, why teach him a new position? We've got an opening at right tackle. Let's put him at right tackle.
Yeah. I think whatever's the easiest, most pain-free thing, like, you just kind of you roll with that. Like, you don't have to change someone. If you can not change someone's position, I think you just let them do what they do. I mean, at some point, Ramczyk might be done now. Like, I almost would. Let me ask you, like, would you be more shocked if he plays or not plays at this point?
After the way that Dennis Allen worded that, and look, we did some follow-up research and stuff like that. I think they're absolutely prepared for the possibility that he's not going to play, but he hasn't made that final decision yet. He's going to make an attempt. 50-50 is the highest percentage I give it that he's playing right now, though.
The way the contract was done and everything, I almost feel like the odds are more against, and it was just kind of like, we want to see if you can come back. I want to try to come back. Here's $6.5 million. You can try to do that. Please don't retire and screw up our cap this year. Give it your best shot.
Well, they owed him that money no matter what. So it was very similar to Drew Brees, Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, they stripped it down to the bare minimum of what they owed him.
It was just kind of like, don't retire, don't accelerate the charges, just chill. We don't have it in our cap plan right now. Like, try to get better, and let's all hope for the best. I think that's just kind of where they're at with it. But I would probably put my money, and this is just on gut feel, 100%. No info, just kind of looking at it, reading it. I'm more pessimistic about him playing than optimistic. So I think there's a very real chance we don't see him again, and I think they have to draft accordingly. You have to draft that way. Like, if there's a right tackle and he has no experience ever playing on the left side, but he's the best player, you take him, and that's your plan. And he holds it down at that point and be ready to move on. I mean, as hard as it is, sometimes it's, if he comes back and he's productive, it's coming to an end. It's always better to be early than late.
But just to sum that up, so I think maybe the most likely scenario is if they draft a guy who's used to playing right tackle and Ramchek doesn't come back. I think the first day that we're out there at OTAs, we're going to see Trevor Penning at left tackle and the new guy at right tackle. And look, that doesn't mean they can't change that down the road. The guy could play right tackle his whole rookie year, then next year make the transition if Penning's just not it. But to answer the question, if Penning surprises everyone and is good, left tackle could be Penning's home, and the new guy could play right tackle.
I like Penning's odds of being able to play at left tackle more than right tackle. He's had a hard enough transition playing the position that he knows how to play. Like, now you want to put him at a new spot, and he's had trouble picking everything up, and now you want him to, like, everything he was doing with his right hand first, now he has to do with his left, and now you're adding in all that thinking again. I think it's hard. I think it's a hard transition for him to make. All right. Next question comes from @Noodles51. As objective reporters of the Saints, do you find it hard to not get caught up in hype negativity that surrounds the team? And do you consciously try not to follow groupthink that surrounds the team?
I liked this question because this is something I try to convey to people sometimes when I have conversations with them. I don't really get into it on social media a lot, but obviously a lot of people want us to be as mad as they are. And the funny thing is they're always like, why don't you ask tough questions, or why don't you get more animated in press conferences? And then a lot of times we also get accused of like defending the Saints moves, even if we don't disagree with them. I think if you listen to our show, you know we will often say things like, that's not how I would do it, I don't agree with the move. But what I think is our number one job, especially since we have access to a lot of good sources, is when a lot of people are thinking, what are the Saints doing? We are trying to answer the question, what are the Saints doing? Like, what are you mad at? I try to stay plugged in and find out what everyone's mad about, why everyone has stopped coming to the games, why everyone's booing, and then I try to explain to them, well, this is what the Saints are thinking. Well, yeah, they're aware of that too, and this is how they're going to try to address it. I do care what all the fans think about, but I try not to get caught up emotionally. I try to be like, all right, well, let me get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, that's really all I'm trying to do too. I think 2 years ago I kind of got caught up in kind of like some of the narrative stuff a little bit too much, and it was kind of affecting how I thought about stuff, because you're just reading Twitter and you're like absorbing it, and I was getting like mad at people for being like, they're saying Nick and Mike are saying this or they're saying that. And then just over time I've realized that, like, when I read Saints Report, I used to be Mr. quote, as they say, sunshine pumper, and now I'm too negative. And then when I read Twitter, they say that I'm too positive about things. And then I got like people that played for the team that said I was bullying Pete Carmichael. Like, so it doesn't matter. It's just people are going to catch what they catch, and it's just, I'm kind of playing it down the middle now. Like, that stuff does not affect me anymore. I think people are just kind of caught up in their own thing. As far as like the groupthink thing, as someone, and I'm related to negative or positive, I just don't really read or listen to anything anybody else does. I don't want their thoughts influencing my thoughts. I read Mike and I read kind of nobody else. And that's just because I want to look at things through my own fresh set of eyes. And I think when you read or consume too much, that stuff kind of like infiltrates your thoughts, and you aren't looking at it kind of purely. Like, when I put on a game, especially like film review stuff, like, I try to stay away, whether it's Baldinger or anybody, like, I'm staying away from it, because when I put it on, I want to see what I see. I don't want to see what somebody else is seeing, and I kind of trust what I see, and I kind of feel like, I want to have my own opinion on it. And then sometimes after that, I'll be like, all right, what did Baldinger say in his video? I'll watch it once I'm done, and then maybe that opens my eyes up to it. But that first look, especially on Monday, Tuesday, I don't want to see or hear anything. I don't want to hear the broadcast, nothing. Like, I want that to be kind of very, very clean. But yeah, as far as like Saints content and that, like, I stay away. I don't want anyone's thoughts to be ours. Like, when we're talking about it, I want to be coming to it from our point of view.
Yeah, look, and I know one popular accusation right now that I keep seeing on Twitter is that, like, all of us in the Saints media have collectively decided to give up on Derek Carr. I know in the case of Carr, sometimes I've been really optimistic on him. There was a stretch of the season where I was really down on him. But, yeah, I mean, when you hear my opinion on how I think a player is playing, how I think a player fits, it's my opinion. I will ask other smart people, conversation we just had with Matt Bowen, that could affect what I think. I know he studied the tape. I know he played the game. I know he understands the defense and what players are trying to do. Yeah, that stuff will influence me. But my opinions really are my opinions. They are not. I don't craft an opinion to get better access to the team, to please the coaches, to please the fans. Like, my opinions are genuine. You hear my opinions, they're genuine.
Yeah, I mean, we had like a 14-hour argument yesterday, like about the cap. Like those are the things that happen. Those are the conversations.
There was no groupthink between me and Nick. We could not convince the other person to agree with our side.
Like on the most those are the conversations. But yeah, definitely try to stay away from that stuff and just come at it from a pure place. And people are gonna like it. They're not gonna like it. It's just kind of is what it is.